Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning into my edition of Chapter 1 Live. My name is Kristen Hope Mazzola, and I will be reading to you a section of the first chapter of Crashing Back Down, which is the first book in my Crashing series, which is a new adult romance series geared for audiences 18 and older for sexual situations, cursing, all that fun stuff. Be sure to check out the links underneath the video, right down there, if you want to continue reading Crashing Back Down, and let's get started. I hope you like it. My college years were a blur of studying and partying. The only thing I could say held any significance was meeting Randy, the fraternity guy with the great smile. Meeting him had lifted me off the ground in an instant, and just as quickly I'd crashed back down to earth the day I found out he hadn't held up the end of his bargain. I'd never realized until death would come before kids and old age for us. I had always known that his choice to join the military would be difficult for me. When his unit was called, Mags McManus had been whisked away from me only 2 short months after our vows had been said. He'd taken so much pride in his status as a paratrooper that I'd known he was meant for greatness. He'd held his head a little higher after he enlisted 2 days after graduation. For what felt like forever after Randy died, I was not awake. I simply had gone through the bare basic motions of life. Friends and family would stop by to make sure I'd been taking care of myself from time to time. My mom did most of my grocery shopping, and she even got so fed up with my lack of cleanliness that she broke down and hired a maid. Work continued to be the only venture into normalcy I'd been able to stomach. Most people stopped calling, texting, or stopping by. It's sad to say, but I was happier being left alone. I couldn't handle being bothered, constantly reminded of my sad situation, and being a continuing source of pity. Walker was my most frequent visitor, pretty much like clockwork. Every Sunday at noon, I expected to see his bright green eyes light up when I opened my door. He was going through his own process of grief and loss. I think he needed the company just as much as I did. Walker Eastman had been Randy's right-hand man ever since they pledged their fraternity together. He had been overseas with Randy when the military-deemed accident happened. There had been some faulty cables that had snapped when the parachute tried to open. Needless to say, there had been no condolence letter good enough from the military to cool my anger and sorrow. All of us had come hurtling down to earth that day. Walker was the only one who never said the wrong thing or pressured me into talking. When I finally coaxed my eyes open, I read 11:30 on my alarm clock and sighed, looking at all of the pamphlets from the different organizations supposed to help me with my grief. I rolled my eyes and shoved them out of my mind, allowing myself to ignore them for a little bit longer. Knowing that Walker would be showing up sooner than I wanted, I fought through my comforter to find my phone. Maybe he won't mind missing one visit. Once my phone was firmly in my hand, I fumbled through the contacts, clicking on his name. Before I could even rethink the call, Walker was on the other end, declining my suggestion for a rain check. Right as I started to protest, I heard my front door slam shut. He hung up as he entered my room, his brawny arms carrying a box of donuts and coffee. I couldn't help but smile, a little relieved that Walker was just as stubborn as I was. I felt like it was the first time I'd truly opened my eyes in weeks, and to my horror, I realized how disheveled I looked and how messy my room was. I cringed with shame from the mess and my wretched appearance. "Walker, I'm not even dressed. I look like hell!" I shrieked, diving back under my blanket. I was in one of Randy's old army shirts and basketball shorts, makeup still on from the night before, smudged all over my eyes. My dark brown hair must have looked like a lion's mane, a tangled mess. I felt it half matted to the side of my face. I could hear Walker's deep southern drawl through the comforter. "Come on, Mags. I've seen you at your worst. Trust me, you look like an angel compared to a few months ago." The time Walker referred to was our darkest hours that we'd just started to break away from. The few months prior had been riddled with sleepless nights and bedridden days. We were both walking dead. During that terrible stint, we'd spent a lot of time holding on to each other for dear life, like it was the only thing keeping our worlds from shattering around us. He climbed onto the foot of my king-size bed, handed me my black coffee, and set out the food carefully. "How about breakfast in bed and a movie?" He pulled Almost Famous out of his jacket pocket and tossed me a smirk. There was no way I could turn down that smile, my favorite movie, and breakfast in bed. How could I say no to an offer like that? I jumped out of my bed, tousled my hair a little, attempting to tame it slightly, and put all of my pillows back onto the bed while Walker started the movie and threw his black jacket onto the floor. We climbed under the covers, cuddling down to have an awesome breakfast with good company. Well, that was a section of Crashing Back Down. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for trooping through all of my stumbles. And but I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun, and have a good one.